What are the weirdest and most shocking things you can experience in Denmark?
I'm shocked.
On every travel, some things always stand out as weird, remarkable, fantastic, or mind-baffling. In this video, I will tell you about the 10 things that shock foreigners the most about Denmark.
Shock you?
Most certainly, some of them will also shock you. If you are American, then there's a special tip for you at the end of the video that will most certainly make your stay in Denmark more pleasant. My name is Stephen Højlund and I'm a Danish national born and raised. In the last 25 years, I have studied, worked and lived with foreigners from all over the world here in Denmark. So I've picked up on a lot of things that really shocks or stir up the emotions for foreigners living here, but also people visiting. So let's get into it. Have you ever seen a red sausage? Well, no. That's why the famous red sausage is probably one of the most shocking things for foreigners visiting Denmark. Yep, it's a red hot dog sausage that you see at every corner stand. But why are they red and what's actually in them? Well, what most foreigners don't know is that the red color is actually extracted from lice.
Yikes!
Yes, you got that right. The color is natural and comes from the insect cochineal, a lice-type insect from South and North America. I really hope I said that right. So there's nothing synthetic about the color and the sausages taste just fine if you're into sausages. The tradition of coloring sausages red actually comes from Vienna in the 19th century, like the Danish pastry or Vienna spread that I made a separate video about earlier that you can see right up here. But while the trend faded in Austria and Germany, it's still alive and kicking well in Denmark, so enjoy. Next up, licorice. Danes are obsessed with salty licorice known as salmiak. It's salty, it's strong, and it's an acquired taste. Let's just say most foreigners don't quite acquire it. Some people absolutely hate it, while other people just can't get enough, including myself. So which side are you on? Make a comment below if you are a licorice hater or a licorice lover. Fun fact about licorice is that the taste is actually extracted from a root, and my father told me how he chewed on these roots as candy back in the 60s in Denmark. Actually, I tried it myself and it's not too bad. Danes will also tell you that licorice is made from horse blood, but it's actually not true. It's more likely that what you are eating is in fact pork or cow skin, which is used to produce gelatin. I don't know if that's much better. Gelatin is in most licorice and wine gums out there, but you can also find vegan alternatives. Tip of advice: if you are new to licorice, go for the soft and sweet ones. When you get a bit more experience, you can try the hard, salty ones, which have a higher dose of salmiak. Next up is the drinking culture. Denmark has a pretty intense drinking culture that tends to shock foreigners a lot. The most shocking to foreigners is probably the many young people who are raving around at a very young age, completely pissed on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday as well. This is most prominently on display at the graduation celebrations, where high school graduates will drive around town in an open truck completely wasted. Danes also tend to change their behaviors when drinking. They suddenly become very friendly and also much more extroverted at family dinners and social events at work. Don't be surprised if your Danish uncle-in-law suddenly starts spilling beans, or if your introverted coworker is all over the dance floor at the Christmas party. Talking about the corporate Christmas party or julefrokost, some foreigners are shocked about the mayhem that unfolds. It typically goes down pretty hard with everything that entails, including drinking, flirting with coworkers, etc. So don't say I didn't warn you. From the hedonistic Christmas party, let's change the subject to the Danish baby strollers, which have a shocking effect on foreigners apparently. In Denmark, it's common to leave your babies sleeping outside in the stroller, also if you are out in public and sitting at a restaurant or cafe. To foreigners, this custom is shocking both in terms of leaving the baby partially out of sight in the public space, but some also find it shocking that babies are left outside in the cold altogether. As a Dane, I'm thinking, who would steal another person's baby? And what would you do with this baby that is not yours? I'll leave it to you to answer the question, What's most shocking? The fact that people apparently steal babies in some countries, or that people leave their babies outside for a little nappy? Leave a comment below on this, I want to know. Foreigners visiting Denmark are also shocked about the numbers of bikes everywhere. I have made another video about biking in Copenhagen that I linked to right up here. But to foreigners, it's both the heaps of bikes that are laying everywhere and also the amount of people biking to work that are shocking. In Denmark, the bike is often your primary means of transportation, and bikes rule in the Danish traffic. Foreigners are also surprised that Danes don't jaywalk, and those two things sort of go hand in hand. To this point, the traffic culture is quite strict in Denmark. In other countries, cars will expect jaywalking to some degree, but that's not the case in Denmark. So beware. If you are hit by a bike or a car in Denmark, you are likely to get scolded by the driver, and you might not even get sympathy from bystanders either if you were at fault. Of course, it's different if you really hurt yourself, but just be careful out there in traffic. And I think that is maybe the reason why Danes don't jaywalk too much, because all of a sudden there's a bike in your face. So it's true, don't jaywalk in Denmark unless you have given careful attention to the traffic, including the bikes. The service at Danish cafes and eateries is generally pretty bad. This is something that can shock and irritate foreigners, but also Danes in fact. The reason is that the staff are mostly students working part-time. Also, cafes are in fierce competition and they are typically understaffed most of the day. Danes are also more about efficiency than pampering, so you might not get that warm, fuzzy, welcoming vibe you're used to, especially if you are from the US. But to me, the most annoying part is that the tables are not cleaned up fast. So often you have to do it yourself or sit next to tables with heaps of leftovers from other guests, which is not nice. Yikes. But if you go to a proper restaurant with real waiters, you will probably not notice any particular difference. Side note here is that in Denmark, the waiters will not remove your plates before everyone has finished up, as it's considered rude to the last person finishing up. So don't take it for negligence of your table from the waiter's side if they don't take your plates away immediately. Next up, Danish supermarkets. What really shocks foreigners as well is Danish supermarkets. If you're coming from countries with huge supermarkets, Danish grocery stores might shock you. They are small and often have a pretty limited selection. Don't expect to find aisles of cereal or tons of international foods and fresh delicious veggies and produce. Danes traditionally don't spend much on food, and it's a discount culture, you could say, much like Germany. We like our milk and cheese cheap. In my experience, French or American supermarkets are much better with a selection superior to the one you find in Denmark. That said, there are mega markets like Bilka in Denmark or Menu, which do have more variety and specialty products. But typically you also end up paying a lot for choice in Denmark. Danes are known for being very direct, sometimes to the point of being blunt. They'll tell you exactly what they think and they don't sugarcoat things. Also, Danes don't use the word for please in Danish, which can make interactions feel a little harsher than what you might be used to. Personally, I was brought up to say undskyld mig, excuse me, and må jeg bede om, can I please have? But Danes don't generally use these phrases of politeness, though I think you should if you are learning Danish. It's not too much to do that. Danes also say the F word a lot. Yeah. Funny enough, Danes don't swear a lot in their own language compared to French, for example. Oh putain! But they do use the F word extensively without attributing too much value to it. Don't take all of this directness personally, it's just how we roll in Denmark. Foreigners are also shocked about the long and dark wintertime in Denmark. Denmark has long and dark winters with very little sunlight. It can be pretty tough, especially if you're used to a lot of sunshine. Seasonal depression is a real thing here, and many Danes combat it with candles, cozy blankets, and lots of indoor activities, or just a yearly trip to Thailand or skiing in the Alps. If you're planning to stay here through the winter, be prepared for the gloom. My advice is to book a trip to an exotic and warm place in January or February. This will save you the depression. Another thing that shocks foreigners is how good looking Danish people are. As you might think, I am watching a lot of YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. And especially Americans seems to be quite shocked about how good looking and well dressed Danes are in general, but also Europeans in fact.
I think I've cracked the code on why people from Denmark are so much hotter than everybody else in the world.
I don't want to be the judge on how people dress, but it's true that Danes are rumored to have a good sense of style and also to look really good. So if you don't want to feel like the odd one out in the crowd, your Danish adventure might be a good time to change up your wardrobe a bit, or maybe just don't pack so much and then buy some stuff here and you'll look just fine. So what do you think? If you have already visited Denmark, what were the things that really shocked you? Write it in the comments below. If you're planning a visit to Denmark, I'd highly recommend you my 2 videos, one about how to bike in Copenhagen and the other one what to see in Copenhagen in just one day. Subscribe if you want a notification next time I make a video about Denmark. Maybe you'll learn something, or maybe you won't. At least I hope you had a good time watching this video. Until next time, take care.